This show is 110% Scottish, so if you think we're talking too fast, then make sure to slow it down with the playback speed button on whatever platform you're listening on. And last but not least, there's definitely offensive language featured, so if you're a minor or a pussy, switch off now. Do you believe in love after love after love after love after love? Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Wits The Goss podcast. I'm joined today with someone, she may be gay but she love it finger looking good, bitch. It's my sister Oceanlea.
I've actually got nothing to say to that one after sharing my appearance. It's my sister Bebe.
Oh my god. How's your day going, sister?
Good, caught up with a mate, had a good laugh, a good game, and then now we're here.
Now we're
here.
Still here, still back. Guys, it's, what day is it today? Wednesday.
We'll get some gossip.
No, we've got the gossip by
Wait
the
there,
way.
first bit of gossip.
Oh my god, the first bit of gossip, Oceanlea's fucking hairdo.
How good? I've never looked gayer in my life.
She's serving chopped up. Oh, that,
I'm 7, how's your mum?
I was going to say chopped up, that's good, I don't know. But you're serving chopped up, you look great.
Thanks very
Literally.
much. Buzzing my new haircut. Thanks, mate.
It's actually Wednesday. What the fuck happened Monday, Tuesday? Oh my god, guys, I've just been...
Didn't really see you, to be honest.
No, we've just been busy
Right there.
bees. At the weekend... Wait, when did we put the last episode? Yeah, so the last episode went up on Sunday, but we filmed that during the week. But at the weekend, I went to a football game. Well, we actually all went, me, Oceanlea's girlfriend, my boyfriend.
Bea literally looked like one of the OnlyFans girls that goes to football games to
I
bait
looked like
men.
Astrid Wet in the fucking
Yeah, she looked like
outfit.
Ashton Wet going to a rugby game. It was so
go
funny.
Team, go team,
Go team. Score. Woo.
Woohoo! But like, I just think to myself, like, no shade on it, I'm going back again. So I went no hate, by the way. I love going, and I paid for my fucking season ticket as well, so you can actually suck
No,
it.
like, she's a member, baby.
I'm actually a
Fins
member.
up.
I've got the jerseys. I'm going to get another jersey. I'm going to actually buy all the jerseys. So if anybody ever tries to say to me, I'm not a fucking fan, bitch. I'm a fucking. Well, it's obviously we call it football here in Australia, guys, but obviously the UK listeners. Well, we've actually got US and United States, so they understand we're talking about the NRL, and they're actually trying to bring the NRL. This is not.
Yeah, they went to Vegas this
We
year.
are not turning plot twist. We are not turning this on an NRL show.
This
by
is
the way,
not a
guys.
sports channel.
Before we think about that, fucking, we'll
But
get
yeah,
Oceanlea
basically
set up
went
for
to the
that one.
rugby, which in Australia is called football.
Yeah, and it was actually really fun. I really only was going for the hotel trip. We stayed at the W. It was actual banging. Loved it. Rookie mistake, but obviously 420 queen like myself. I didn't have a balcony. So I was actually just having to just fucking... I mean, I'm not going to expose myself. I wasn't smoking in the hotel room, by the way. Cause
But you were going to mission for a smoke.
I was going to mission for a fucking smoke. So really, I actually just got really drunk instead.
I know. Me and Chloe did not drink. Well, no, Chloe drank, sorry. I
Me
didn't
and Chloe
drink,
got
but we
fucking
didn't
lit.
stay.
I left my phone in the toilet. That's how drunk I was.
I was so
can't even
happy
believe
about this
that.
as well because Bea tortures me. I've always been the one who loses things, drops things, breaks things, and she does not let me hear the end of it. I'm so fucking buzzing that I've got one over her now.
No, I know. And actually didn't even... See, to be honest, I just was thinking to myself, there's no way. I was just so shocked that I'd done that. I'd never do that. I'm always a person that's like, remember your phone? No, and do you know I phoned it, right? And it was a security guard and it's like, hello? And I'm like, hi, you've got my phone? Excuse me, is this my phone? And he's like, aye, and I turned around and he was right there. But he was trying to laugh and said, give him like for $100. But like, I was going to give him $100. I thought, mate, I actually was shaking my pants. You have no idea how much I need that phone. And also, if no, the MD would ever be able to unlock it, really, because that's why I didn't think nobody stole it, because
There's not much point in stealing
there's not
a
much
phone
point in
these
stealing
days,
the
is
phone
there?
these days, because you can just lock it straight away. But that happened, and I was pure hungover on Sunday, so you're lucky he's got a fucking episode. I'm not going to lie. Thank God it went up late, but I mean, I was like hanging out my whole editing it. So can you wait till the day we're actually popping off with somebody else is editing it? But nevertheless, had fun anyway. But what we're really here to actually talk about, because I've actually saved an album on my iPad, guys. The evidence is getting that good. So during the week, I was on TikTok, and this whole shit that's happening with Diddy right now. Like, obviously, I want to keep you guys informed There's so much growing as well. We just keep on talking about it. So obviously we were going to leave it from the episode that we had kind of touched on it. But I don't even think we really touched on it that much, to be honest. It was
We
very
didn't get
vanilla.
into the very good details because you've got so much to do with City Girls and all that as
And
well.
also as well, we just were talking on it lately because there is so much information that we're like, holy fuck, like there's so much going on. There's so many, and obviously there is so many allegations. There's obviously loads of truth within all of this stuff, but there's like lawsuits after lawsuits, people getting named. There's just so much going on. So basically, I've made a fucking album, guys. I'm going to fill you in on what's happening. So
Before
we
we
all know
start, you were going to say something as well.
what.
That everything basically is all just the allegations that were
Oh
found
yeah, well,
online.
I will have already put a thing up at the start before this even starts because obviously everything we're talking about is a bit of a trigger warning. I just want to fill you in because I feel like you need to know anyway. The people that want to know, and I feel like for me, I obviously do want to know about this stuff too, even though it is fucking thing. But I want to know what's happening in the world of like entertainment, like because I'm not being funny. That's what we are pursuing a career in entertainment. I don't know if you noticed that.
Just think if you pay, technically everyone who consumes the media pays their bills, so
Well, exactly.
right
So I
to
just think
know.
we have a right to know, but I understand that if you're not on whatever side of the algorithms on the internet, and it's just so much information going on to actually try and digest all in the winner. But
But yeah,
basically,
this is basically what we found on the internet, and it's
and I don't feel like I was really clear in the episode about it and the fact when I was talking about Carisha, because you didn't even realise who Carisha was. So when I was meaning Carisha on the Diddy episode, Carisha
is
for-
Young Miami.
is Young Miami from the City Girls. So if nobody knows who they are, then you obviously must know who they are. You definitely would have heard of them at least. But JT and Young Miami both make the City Girls no longer, like, I don't think that shit's popping because they've been beefing on the internet. So the whole backstory is JT went to jail, like, basically, I don't even know what years it was. A few years ago, JT went to jail. It's basically the prime years when the City Girls were on their come up. So they'd only released a few songs, but they were blowing the fuck up. And then basically during that time, obviously JT always talks about being a hustler and just getting herself into fucking dodgy shit. And basically she was a fraudster. So she was getting involved in doing all sorts of scamming, frauding, all that type of shit, which I'm not saying this is like in Americans, but every TV show that I've seen with Americans that are like acting gangster, why do they always like there's loads of them that just talk about being scammers? Like on
Yeah.
that baddie show, like, I'm a scammer, and I'm like, I don't think you should tell folk that you're a
I
scammer.
don't know if that's how scamming works.
But like also like I'm not saying
it
like
feels like such an American thing.
there might be different illegal industries. It's like just maybe like illegal. It's like, oh, that clearly shouldn't be illegal. Like the government just can't really do much
Yeah,
about
but
it.
come on, we've
But
met people from all walks of life. and
I'm not
we've
judging
never
anybody
met a
for what you're
scammer.
doing. I've never met a scammer.
Like,
I've met
not a
people that
bla-
will sell fucking, do you know what I mean? Their fucking granny's ashes, but I've never met a scammer before.
Like, not just blatant fraud scam, like American style scamming.
I just
I've
thought
never
to
met them.
myself, what is somebody actually going to just say, oh, this I'm just going to scam people? That I thought you would be lying to yourself and what you were doing, and then once you get caught and put in the jail, you realize, oh wait, I was scamming people. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that people actively sought scamming as a business, but nevertheless, I must have been a bit vanilla in that. But JT from the City Girls, she got caught up in all this, and during the obviously peak come up of the City Girls, their music and all that, she get put in jail, and she was in there for like 18 months. I'm pretty sure she served 18 months. Yeah, it definitely was 18 months. And obviously during that time, Young Miami, who is involved in all the lawsuits, and this is Diddy's girlfriend or like mistress, madam. We don't really know the full story if it's a real girlfriend or not, because as we know in Hollywood,
Don't know if it's
we don't know what the score is or she. But all the things that coming out as well is talking about. So JT has obviously been a scammer. Young Miami has always spoke about being a sex worker. So now I'm confused about these, because in these lawsuits as well, they talk about her being a sex worker, which everybody already knew she was a sex worker. It's in all her music. Like, I feel like that was already known, but obviously there's more to it in the whole trafficking aspect, and that's why these lawsuits are coming to, like, this is what the fuck's happening here. But basically, JT, that's the backstory in them. They done that, and while she was in the jail, fucking obviously Young Miami was riding hashtag free JT was a whole thing. Like, every time she was out
City Girls came up where
the
she was
City
in
Girls
jail.
came up while she was in the jail, basically. And fair enough to Young Miami, she actually did, obviously that was her doing all that. She did do that work. She can never take credit for obviously what JT done and what music she wrote and all that, because JT obviously did do the hard work as well, and JT's obviously been grinding like fuck since she came out of prison and shit. But anyway,
Has JT ever been involved in anything other than music since she came out of prison?
no, she just really it's always been City Girl music. But this
Okay,
is
cool.
so JT's always been City Girl music, and then basically she done a few collabs like on her own as just JT with like Nicki Minaj on the Super Freaky Girl remix. But recently JT's came out with, a few months ago, she came out with No Bars, which was like the viral TikTok sound. It's like, mwah, no bars. That's her song. But she did release that as City Girls and JT. So it was still under City Girls, but it was only her song. But then that's been recently, so that's when people, the last few months, people have been speculating like maybe the City Girls
They're
are
going their separate ways or something.
they're beefing and things like that.
Mhm.
So during that whole thing, everybody's been wondering that, and then obviously this Sideways songs then came out, and it's like some of the words are like, "Oh, so phony, I got them looking at them fucking sideways" and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
So I'll pull up the screenshots obviously on the screen so y'all can see. Let me just find what the fucking first screenshot is. Yeah, right. So this is what it says. It says, "So Young Miami tweeted saying a bitch trying to kick me while I'm down and playing into these narratives is dangerous, and I've been nothing but a friend to you." But she's like, playing into what narratives, babe? Like, you are fucking with a man that's a sex trafficker,
And
that's-
you're named in a lawsuit.
and you're
It's
named in
not
lawsuits
really...
as being a madam and a mistress and all that. Like, obviously fair dues, like just standing your shit, but like she's definitely just thinking, I'm not getting involved in none of this shit. They're probably going to end up going to jail or something's going to happen to them. Like, I've literally just already been to jail. Like, I'd probably maybe don't want to fucking go back to fucking jail. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Crazy. So JT retweeted this one, Young Miami's tweet, and said, "You're looking for a way out of your situation. You were looking a way out for your situation. Who was the first person who the first person that called you when it all started? You're a fucking sad case." So basically saying that she phoned her first and this was all happening. Like, get the fuck out there. Obviously, so young JT's obviously not been fucking with her shit for years. She's obviously been actively kind of trying to distance herself and just been doing the bare minimum with the City Girls for like a little while just now. But if she's already been known, she already probably knows everything that the fuck's going on in behind
Well,
the scenes
listen,
and
if
all
the best
that.
mates, you do know everything.
Exactly.
Like, if somebody tells you something, they tell me it too. That's how it works.
Exactly. And then Young May basically try to say like what songs was about you and all that, and she's like, No Bars and Sideways. And then JT's literally wrote, "Oh wow, you're really losing it. If you thought this, why not speak to me about it? You came on here and said LOL so people can ask you why you wasn't defending me. Attention taken as usual." And then Young Miami's like, "For you to come on here and act a victim is crazy, Jatavia. Over the last couple of days, all this bullshit, like you've been rapping, like still rapped your shit." And then JT's wrote, "Girl, the internet told you that the songs were about you, not me." And like it's City Girl shit, even when it ain't City Girl shit. That's a lyric from the song. So she's basically saying like, even if I'm not a City Girl, I'm always still gonna be a City Girl. Like, I'm always still gonna ride for that shit because
Yeah.
that was a fucking. Do you know what I mean? That's what got started. That was released under the City Girls name, or one that they riding solo, but I'm still in a group. Because that was another lyric, was like, I'm riding solo, but still in the group. So she still was kind of giving her flowers to Young Miami and that sort of shit. But it's also like, I'm a step back because your man's a fucking pervert and is up a wee
Yeah.
nonce, a wee dirty, mate, crazy into it. So these are all the things and all that. And then somebody wrote, fucking some cunt wrote on Twitter saying JT had really had two girls thinking No Bars was about them. Sagittarius really be so powerful. And Young Miami just shared it and wrote, "Shut your big head little body ass up, bitch." It's fucking hilarious. Do you want to go through these ones, Ocean? Do you want
Chuck
to
your big head, little body ass up, bitch.
So what we've got up here, guys, is this is the lawsuits of the allegations, and in it is named Sean Combs.
The allegations against Diddy.
Yeah, the allegations against Diddy. Do you want to read this out? You can read this shit.
Cool. So this is the Rodney Jones case against all these people that I'm just about to tell you. So Sean Combs, Justin Dior Combs, so obviously Diddy's son, Ethiopia Habitamariam. I'm not sure who that is, to be honest.
Don't know him, to be honest.
Lucy and Charles Grange, Christina
Who is the CEO
Coram.
of Universal Music.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Christina Coram, Chalice Recording Studios, Love Records, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, Combs Global Enterprises, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, and ABC Corporations 1 through 10. So there's
Oh,
unnamed people in this one as well.
Oh my god, I said John and Jane Joe is literally just Yeah. Allegedly, unallegedly,
We're
allegedly.
literally reading the lawsuit, so there's nothing that we
Aye,
are saying here
but
that's
allegedly the people that are the Jane and the John Does could be Usher and Meek Mill as well, because there's so much connection to them. Justin Bieber too.
based on the thoughts that it actually says one was a Philadelphia rapper that dated Nicki Minaj. So
Yes.
Meek Mill, that would describe.
Yep.
And then the other one is an R&B artist from whatever it says, and it leans towards being Usher.
Yeah.
But,
And Usher also did go to Diddy's camp when he was like 13 and literally
Yeah.
got took away from his
They've
parents.
always been close. But I'll read out this trigger warning just because it's probably the best way to describe the trigger warning. The document contains highly graphic information of a sexual nature, including sexual assault. Additionally, there are graphic images of the aftermath of a shooting, redacted images of sexual intercourse, redacted images of minors, sex workers and prostitutes, details of sex trafficking, and the illegal distribution of guns and drugs. Cool, so here's a summary of events. From September 2022 to November 2023, Mr. Jones produced 9 songs on Mr. Combs' love album. Mr. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months at a time, spending holidays, birthdays, and missing major family events. Mr. Jones resided at Mr. Combs' residence, located in Los Angeles, California, New York City, and Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones also spent several weeks on a yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the US Virgin Islands. Throughout this time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed and experienced and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer on the Love album. The claims raised in this have been corroborated through witness statements, video and audio recordings, and images that Mr. Jones has in his possession. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones' cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. Mr. Jones has secured the irrefutable evidence of the acquisition, use, and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. And obviously, speaking on the City Girls, we'll speak later on how that's where
She comes up in it.
how Young Miami comes into things for the most part, is apparently to do with drugs more than anything, I think.
Yeah, she basically a lot of time was trafficking the drugs, bringing her, bringing other girls, trafficking drugs, going there, and then also just being a sex worker to all these men, which respectfully, fair enough. In the sex working industry, like fair enough that she was obviously getting to the bag, doing that type of shit, but obviously just this whole situation where they were, everything they're doing, all the other shit is illegal. I have no issue towards a girl, obviously, who is actively wants to be a sex worker and wants to get booked and do all that type of shit with these type of people. Obviously, that's sound, but when it comes to then they're fucking, obviously there's so much more to it. It's not just about that.
Yeah.
The underage girls,
It's not about
the
a woman,
trafficking
yeah.
drugs. This is no longer about a woman getting to her bag. This is about a woman being controlled in a massive scheme.
Yeah, and as well the whole power dominance of her coming up in the industry, Diddy being who he is,
Exactly.
all that stuff. So we'll continue anyway. So as long as as well as the acquisition, use of all those drugs, the displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, Mr. Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his home in California, New York, the US Virgin Islands, and Florida. So basically all of his homes.
All around the Virgin Islands as well, where Epstein Island as well.
Yeah, that's
All
where
around
his
the same
island
areas
is.
as well. Yeah,
And
2
then
islands there.
his chief of staff, Christina Coram, or KK, as they described in this lawsuit, instructing her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide it to Mr. Holmes for his consumption. They've also described her as kind of being his Ghislaine
Alias as
Maxwell,
well.
wasn't it?
Yeah, well, she was just getting paid a fucking shit ton of money and was absolutely coked out her brains as well. So, Mr. Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers in homes in California, New York, and the Virgin Islands. You said that, Oceanlea. Mr. Combs' chief of staff, the KK, she was also doing it. She was also doing the finding people to get the consumption for Mr. Combs. Christian Combs was drugging and sexually assaulting. Christian Combs was drugging and allegedly said oh my god. Guys, I'm so motherfucking sorry. Let me just get my words together. Christian Combs drugging and sexually assaulting a woman. So Christian Combs is his son, which I just don't get because in all these lawsuits as well, it's just fucked up on another level as well. All these lawsuits, like, they're kids. Like, obviously the adult ones are older because he has loads of fucking kids. Like, are literally there for loads of this stuff or actively participating. This is like normal lifestyle for them. Like, to be having orgies with your dad.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around that, to
What
be
the
honest.
fuck, man? It says, and this is where Young Miami starts to get involved here too. So Mr. Combs detailing on all these things we're listing just now are all the evidence that this man is saying he has footage of. Like he has footage of all this stuff because of him being hired to basically be there to record all of this, but it's now kind of backfired and Diddy. I think the main part of this was many people that Diddy associated with this footage was then used against them. So this is how this man operated for years, not just with him, obviously with people that are bigger than him, but that's how he's been operating with this footage, which is it's not just him, it's a very popular thing. If you Kanye West had a full-time videographer that followed him around for years. Many of celebrities like seem to have full-time.
Yeah, it's not even that. They put cameras in his home. He records it just on his own phone. Like, they willingly record it so they can keep it.
Yeah. So then this is where, so it says Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. So this is another lawsuit. I think we've probably already heard about the Cassie stuff. That was That was a very mainstream the last year as well. Then it starts to say that Young Miami's cousin and or sexually assaulting Mr. Jones. So doesn't really mention whether Young Miami's cousin was male or female.
Yeah.
Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. Rapper number 3, it says, with a redacted name so that the name is not on the lawsuit, was on Mr. Combs's yacht consorting with underage girls, sex workers, and then it goes on to say R&B singer number 4, with also a redacted name, was in Mr. Combs's house in Los Angeles, consorting with underage girls and sex workers also. So like obviously the underage girls that too, and then I think obviously the part of the lawsuit with the underage girls is just sex work and escorting and all that. Like it's very different. Like if people don't know this, like it's every place in the world has different laws. So like whether you go to different countries, different cities, different states, different fucking villages, like sex work in all those places, and even though it's been the longest job in history, is like very regulated across the world, like sometimes to the point where it's like completely legal. But then that's when like there's a whole conversation that needs to be had too with if there was more safety for sex workers and things like that in the States, because I know in the States like, it's like very few places is it actually allowed to a certain degree, but
Yeah.
if there was actually more safety options for women in America to be actually allowed to be sex workers, because at the end, not just women, men and women, like there's sex workers of all genders, of all races, ages, sexes, obviously above fucking 18, above whatever the legal age is in your
Yeah, because
country.
that's the thing as well, though. Even if sex work was legal, realistically, is someone like Diddy ever going to go the legal route? Because when there's kids involved, it's clearly not what they look.
Yeah, true, but I'm
And
just,
you could,
but
like,
also
there's
in the
just
bigger,
ever a way in which soliciting a child for
no,
sex.
I 100% know none of that, but I'm saying is,
But
but
that's what I'm saying. That would never ever exist in the world.
no,
So
that would
someone
never
like
exist.
him is always going to break the law and have these
Aye, because it's
fucking
fucked up.
weird
But
relationships.
yeah, but and I'm saying in this terms of safety of the sex worker women, if they actually had more of an opportunity to be safe and working as a sex worker in the States, would they end up in situations like this? Because there obviously is massive money there with those men, but I'm very sure there's probably like a lot of good money to be made with men that are not like that in the States. But obviously, there's no way of advertising things like that to get to these. Whereas men that are of this level and this fame, it's more so the fame that allows
Yeah.
them to be able to get there rather than the money.
Yeah.
Because the men with the money have money, but then they're probably hard for them
And
to
not only
find
that, but if
loyal sex workers and things like that.
yeah,
Do you know
but
what
not
I'm
even
saying?
that. If sex work is illegal, then that means no person that has been hired for sex that goes in there to have sex with him can ever report on all the other stuff that's happening because
Exactly.
they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Well, that's it. There's no that's now illegal completely because it's not as if they're going there to actually
That's completely off limits, yeah, because it's not as if they're going to go and bring that up now to the police when they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Yeah.
So then that's why he is allowed to keep having sex with kids and stuff like that as well, because even the people who are consensually there can't report on it because they're either one, blackmailed, two, involved in it, or three, illegally there.
So the next part of the lawsuit is basically they're talking about the Chalice Recording Studios shooting. So there's basically been a whole shooting ordeal with Diddy and a few others that I'll talk about in a minute. And this kind of moves on to as well, and I'm pretty sure this is the part of this, it comes up, I'll tell you in a minute. They're
It
Jennifer
involves Jennifer
Yep.
Lopez, yep.
Yep, it involves Jennifer Lopez as well. So, I hope you guys are enjoying this by getting the full fucking scoop, because
Yeah, we're not going for the whole funny thing this time. It's a little
We're
bit
going
more
somewhere
serious,
serious?
but
we're giving you the information in it. Right, so basically, we're talking about is on or about September 12th, 2022, Mr. Combs held a writers and producers camp at the Chalice Recording Studios in Los Angeles. Present at this camp was Mr. Combs, his son Justin Combs, and Justin's friend named G. Mr. G is a 30-year-old tall African male. In addition to these individuals, other musicians were present at the camp. This writer has spoken to several musicians who attended the camp. One evening during the camp, Mr. Combs, J. Combs, and G were in a heated conversation. That conversation was moved out of the studio and into a restroom adjacent to where Mr. Combs was sitting. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when the gunshots rang out. Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple shots, and then it has on like a little part at the bottom. It says this writer has spoke with several employees of the yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands, who personally witnessed defendant Karam instruct her staff, Brendan Paul, Frankie Stantella, Moywan spike bottles of champagne with ecstasy. A complaint is forthcoming. He is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. So this is actually giving you information on the Jane and John Doe's of
cool.
the
So
situation.
just make that a bit clearer. So basically, in the studio in LA, Mr. Jones is saying that he was about 2 feet away from the bathroom when Diddy, his son, and then this other man called G got into a debate. They then took it into the restroom,
Yep.
where he then heard the shots ring out.
Yeah, and basically this has all been happening at a writers and music producers camp with new musicians, new artists and all that, like basically in a situation where this should not have been fucking happening in the first place.
Yeah,
like a
and then
professional
separately
environment,
from
business
that,
environment.
Mr. Jones is also claiming that he's witnessed Diddy's chief of staff instruct other members of the team to spike girls' drinks.
Well, they also spoke to the writer who was involved in the lawsuit of building the lawsuit and all that, spoke to several employees of the yacht company that rented the yachts to Diddy.
Okay.
So they've several of the employees have confirmed, basically saying that they've seen Diddy's second in command, his assistant staff member or whatever, spiking the bottles of champagne and things like that were only for the women and the underage girls and the sex workers, and there was separate bottles and alcohol there for the men and for the staff and things like that.
For the artists.
And for the artists that he didn't obviously want getting fucked up, and then they would lace the bottles of champagne that were for obviously all the girls that they wanted to fuck up with all sorts of different things too. Not just women, actually, sorry, it's actually not just women, actually men too, because Diddy loved pee as well. So yeah, and it moves on to say Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and feared that he would be shot next. Mr. Jones genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he actually was to the incident. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Justin, his son, exited. Jay was lying on the restroom floor, so that was Justin's friend, on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach, bleeding out from his leg and hip area. Everyone stood around looking upon G, frustrated by the lack of aid to G. So basically no company was fucking helping this dying guy, because obviously they're probably all shitting themselves as well, thinking they were going to get it next. Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to G, and immediately placed pressure on G's gunshot wound to his stomach. As he was applying... Oh, let me just... As he realised that the stomach was gushing blood. And then Mr. Jones has several corroborating witnesses who spoke with the writer who spoke with this writer anonymously, so like nobody's wanting to be mentioned due to the fear of retaliation from Mr. Combs. They have agreed to speak publicly when subpoenaed. So basically, if they're held to like put their hand on their heart and say the fucking prayer to America or whatever it is at the court, that they said, if that needs to come to that,
If it
then
comes
we'll
to
do
that,
it.
we'll do it. But until then, please
We don't want to be fucking, because
name me.
basically they only know if they're going to have to do that, then they know that these people are going to jail. Apart from that, like these guys could 100%.
And let's face it, at
and
that
these type of
level,
men
it's
are.
a risk.
And literally, Mr. Jones has the clothing he wore that day, and he believes it may still have DNA of G's blood. The following are the screenshots of the aftermath of the restroom where G was shot by Mr. J. Combs. So I will post this part, obviously, trigger warning for nobody who wants to skip
I
15
don't know if you
seconds.
can on YouTube.
Well, it's only, it's like this.
Yeah, but it's got blood in it.
Can we? I'll figure it
Basically,
out.
we'll describe the picture. It's a picture of the bathroom with clothes, and they've tried to clean up some of the blood. There's blood splatters on the floor and stuff like that. That's essentially the picture.
We'll
So
le-
it is proof in a bathroom.
Yeah. If anybody wants to read this fully as well, like have it and you can actually see it as well, we'll leave a Google Drive link down below with the screenshot with the
Yeah.
PDF to the actual thing. But yeah, G was not shot outside of the studio as Mr. Combs instructed his team to. So basically when this all came out, this is like another backstory to this whole lawsuit. So this is obviously the true story of what's happening, or like allegedly the true story of what's happening, but in the news and into the media, and basically it came out in enforcement. That's why they're saying like there could be like there's police and payroll and all that, or just getting paid off because they made it out to be that this man was shot outside of the studio, out by a drive-by studio. And obviously this man's now providing evidence that clearly this did not happen. This definitely did happen in the fucking toilets, in the studio, in a professional environment. All the bullshit.
Allegedly at the hands of Diddy and not a stranger driving by.
Literally, Mr. Combs and defendants, LRMR, like all of them, basically people, provided private security for the writers' camp at defendant CRS. Fuck's sake, by the way. And it just basically says, like, more facts says the security was porous and lackluster at best. That's the security they hired. This is what the people, anonymous people were saying as well, was this man, Mr. Jones. And it said the fact that either Mr. Combs and Justin were allowed to enter the CRS with guns, and those guns were not confiscated by security, is a clear breach of duty by Mr. Combs' defendants and Mr. Combs and all the other fucking people that were on the thing.
I don't think the firearm was registered.
Yeah, it wasn't registered either. It's an illegal firearm. Which I was like, why the fuck have you got a legal firearm, bro? You're literally minted and you live in a country where you can buy guns.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't get it. But obviously they're wanting to do shit, but then that's how they're doing it, because if somebody's shooting with your gun, it's a whole other story. But if there's this just random gun that's no attached to them, it's not doing none.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't shoot someone with a gun that is registered, or else it will come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's why they're fucking doing it. Literally. And then the next part of the lawsuit case says Mr. Jones was sexually harassed and assaulted by Mr. Combs, Diddy. So throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant, unsolicited and unauthorised groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. These events took place in LA, New York, Florida, and the United States Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorised touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showering in a clear glass enclosure. As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones, it's always the fucking Christians that end up getting roped into this stuff. Poor guy. And it's the actual real Christians that are genuinely like
a straight Christian man, and he's getting forced to be around someone who's walking.
And probably shitting his fucking self because he's just seen people get busted up by all sorts. It says a heterosexual man, Mr. Jones, was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, which is sure she's mentioned as KK. KK responded to Mr. Jones' complaint with, Sean will be Sean.
Brilliant. Boys will be boys. That's the same thing, isn't it?
Literally, boys will just grope your asshole and just deal with it, basically. Fucking KK also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones's anus in general as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were Mr. Combs' way of showing that he likes you. Despite these assurances, on several occasions when Mr. Combs began to undress and walk around his house naked, KK would say, "Okay, I am leaving now," and she would disappear. KK's hypocrisy is breathtaking at best or enabling at worst. Mr. Jones believes that KK aided and abetted Mr. Jones's sexual assault of him and was working with Mr. Combs to groom him into accepting a homosexual relationship. Through these sexually deviant acts, one say Mr. Combs has a pattern and practice of engaging in such nefarious activity. This ongoing conduct shows that Mr. Combs cannot be rehabilitated. Basically saying this guy is just a full out and out fucking monster, sex monster.
Well, see, when it comes to people like KK, what I wonder is, are you that switched off and that kind of like self-driven that you'll do all this for your bag, or
Are
do
you
you feel
shitting
the
yourself?
same way as Sean about things, or are you shitting yourself too?
I'm not going to lie. I think people like her, like, there's no defending this. There's no, sorry, I was like away from the mic. There's no defending this woman, right? And what she's doing, but there's also a level of every single person around him is fucked off their face and drugs. Quite clearly, this man is a professional groomer and he knows how to groom everybody
Professional
of
manipulator.
all levels. Exactly. And I just don't believe that all of this type of shit was, well, obviously, as they're saying, that this stuff doesn't happen at the start. It's all very and then before you know it, you've got paychecks flying around you. You've got, like, you're ending up with insane money in your bank. You're probably, paying for your mum and dad's lives. You're supporting other your family members
I
because you've
wonder
got
what her
such a,
background is. You could have came from nothing as well.
exactly, and
And it
that's as
usually
well. A
would
lot
be.
of time that people in here, a lot of time that these people end up hiring and working with are people that literally come from such unfortunate places, or just not even that, just a normal person, to be honest. Because you're then seeing this life that's so fucking crazy. Even if they've not got all the millions in their bank, they're literally just living the same life,
Yeah,
doing
and
the
it's
same
just so
shit.
far beyond
And
that.
then by that point, they've been drugged up to the max for years, and then you're deep in it. And then, but what the fuck happens then? Because you can't leave because this guy's going to bust you up. You're probably just hoping and praying that one day he gets caught and you don't get fucking taken down
You
with
don't get
him.
taken down with him.
But by that point, you've already been
You've been complicit in
accompanied.
all that, yeah.
Exactly.
You've been complicit, and at the end of the day, you do still have somewhat of a choice. Like, there are people in this world that would say, I cannot sit around and let this happen.
Exactly. But there's also, 100%. And I also think as well, with her, she's probably seen, well, she's probably actually helped many people that did speak out about Diddy fucking see ya. Like, she's probably been there to see that happen too. So she's definitely thinking to herself, how the fuck am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Crazy.
If these are the people that have been around Diddy for years that have ended up no longer being here, they're so famous. So if they are going and no one's catched on to it, and I'm just a no one, then I can go without a word, basically.
Exactly.
It's like a tree falling in a forest, isn't it?
I
You don't
know,
hear it.
exactly. So then the lawsuit moves on to the next part of it, which is talking about involving Stevie G.
Stevie G's a producer.
So Stevie G's a producer, and then if you guys listened in the, like, obviously the last episodes, you might have heard me talking about baddies on Zeus Network. And what I was saying to Oceanlea before is season 1 or 2 of, I think it may have been season 2. I'm pretty sure Stevie G was producer on that show on the first seasons, and then he was definitely the host on the second season. Although he didn't really do too
The
much.
reunion.
But the reunion, yeah, he was the reunion host. So that's actually how I first knew Stevie G, because obviously I didn't really know him apart from that. And then obviously when I realised, not really I didn't know him, I just didn't really know his name, common face thing, that type of shit. And then obviously once I'd done research on him, then I realised, oh wait, I kind of recognise this guy from other scenarios, but never really knew who he was. Like, you recognise his face in the pictures going, oh yeah, I remember that picture,
Yeah.
type of thing.
The worrying thing is, though, is that there's been whispers on the internet that there's still stuff to come from Zeus Network, hey?
Yep, there's still stuff to come from that.
There's definitely some whispers.
Because the owner, the CEO of Zeus Network for years has said his inspiration's Diddy, and he's friends with Diddy, and a lot of these people in these lawsuits all work with these people. So we'll just see what happens there next to in it. Right, I'll read this part out. This is the next part that involves him, right? So it says, Mr. Combs was aware that Mr. Jones looked up to and idolised music producer Stevie Aaron Jordan, Stevie G, right? Stevie G is an American DJ, record producer, and TV personality. Stevie G was a part of Bad Boy Records production team The Hitmen. In 1997, Stevie G won a Grammy for his work on Puff Daddy's debut album, like P. Diddy. Why did they have so many different names?
Well, he's went to Puff Daddy,
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy, and then just Diddy, right?
No, there's two more
And
too.
Puff.
And then it says, throughout the late 1990s, Stevie G produced for several artists, including Mariah Carey, Tevin Campbell, The Notorious B.I.G., 112, Jodeci, Faith Evans, Jay-Z, and Eve. Stevie G was one of the producers for On the Love album as well, which is Diddy's Love album.
And it's the album that obviously Little Rod's produced on.
And that's the same album that this man's talking about the whole time he was working on. Like, this is where most of the abuse and all this has happened on this album. Mr. Combs used access to Stevie G and his knowledge of Mr. Jones' admiration of Stevie G to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in to engage in homosexuality. Mr. Combs went so far to share a video of Stevie J anally penetrating a Caucasian man without a condom, and said this was done to ease Mr. Jones' anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Mr. Combs, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie G is doing it, and literally there is screenshots in this lawsuit that are like I literally screenshots of apparently allegedly this happening. What did you say?
Yeah, on Twitter there was mentions of, I think, someone like that could be the Caucasian male in that picture retweeted it saying that this
He's a
is
porn
me.
star.
He's a porn star. This was him for a gay scene. The only thing I would say with that is I was thinking about this. It could just be for bait if he's got an OnlyFans or something like that.
Well, exactly. You're obviously going to go super viral for saying that too.
And I just think that if this is in a lawsuit, maybe.
And also, if he's an American gay porn star, Diddy knows a lot of them too, so I wouldn't be surprised.
So
if
it
he was
doesn't
just,
mean that it didn't happen though. What
Doesn't- I'm not-
Little
aye.
Rod's saying anyway is that this is him showing it to go, oh look, even Stevie J's fucking guys.
Aye, but she probably definitely
Oh,
is too.
yeah.
Probably is because it's happening here too. So it says, yeah, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie G is doing it. Mr. Combs informed
Stevie G or Stevie J?
Stevie J,
We keep on saying Stevie G, like Steven Gerrard.
Steven Gerrard or Stevie J, GJ. Fuck no, guys.
J for
We're
Joseph.
Scottish. We already know what we're talking about anyway. We quite clearly get the point in it. So it says, Mr. Combs promised. So Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with rapper number 5, which is redacted, R&B singer number 6, and Stevie G. So
Stevie J.
what is that?
Stevie J.
Stevie J.
J.
J. What?
J.
J.
J for Jack, John, Joseph.
Stevie J.
I'm
Sorry.
just no saying, just no G. Stevie G is Steven Gerrard.
Honey G, all I want to do is do it. Literally. So basically, allegedly, guys, rapper number 5 and R&B singer number 6.
People think
Think, and on Twitter, what we've seen is people saying it's Meek Mills and
Usher. But for the meantime, they're redacted.
For the meantime, they're redacted. We don't know if it's them. There's just obviously massive connections to them as well.
And the description fits.
Cinderella,
They're at
the
least
glass
the same
slippers
shoe
on.
size.
Exactly. Type of shit. So it says Mr. Combs promised to make sure that Mr. Jones wins Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he engaged in homosexuality.
So blackmail.
Full blackmail, basically.
Coercion,
Get
blackmail.
over, get bent up the boom boom, and you'll get a Grammy. That's what he's literally said. That's fucking.
Makes you wonder how all these other Grammys came about then for people.
That's why they're all walking with a fucking waddle. Dirty bastards. Then they waddled away, waddle, waddle. Aye, they will fucking get loose asses because that's how they got all the Grammys. Right. The following screenshots of the video of Stevie J, I got it right,
Thank you.
anally penetrating a Caucasian man that Mr. Combs provided to Mr. Jones. And then it's full there. And then it says, this is the last, basically last event. On another event, Thanksgiving Day 2022, Mr. Jones is sexually assaulted by young Miami's cousin. I was going to say it's getting juicy, it's been fucking juicy the whole time. On Thanksgiving Day 2022, Mr. Jones was in Diddy's house located in Miami with young Miami, and her female cousin was also present. So that's what we did as a female.
Ah, female.
It's a female cousin, yeah. So Mr. Combs was intoxicated and offered cocaine to Mr. Jones. So Diddy offered cocaine and fucking was fucked
Little
up
Rod.
to Little Rod, who's Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones rejected him and proceeded to walk to the restroom. Right, so check this guy does take cocaine, or do you think he just wasn't wanting to take cocaine with him?
I don't know. He might just been on edge and did it. I mean,
True.
You would be.
I wouldn't even trust what he's giving you either.
that is the last person you're taking any drink off or any drug.
No, he sounds like he's like the fucking pal at the end of the night in a party, just obviously going home. Try to
Aye.
shag everybody. Weirdo.
Oh.
A fucking cunt. Right, and it says, while using the restroom, young Miami's cousin, who's a female, burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, Little Rods, believes that Mr. Combs sent her in there to sexually assault Mr. Jones. As she entered the bathroom, she dropped to her knees and began performing oral sex on Mr. Jones' exposed penis. Mr. Jones pushed her away and exited the bathroom. Young Miami's cousin did not accept Mr. Jones' rejection So she was like, I'm not fucking having this. As she proceeded to follow Mr. Jones out of the bathroom, she started undressing and attempted to straddle and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. And then there's basically more screenshots here, and this is actually of, oh fuck, this is actually image footage pictures that they took that night, and it's actually of on Thanksgiving of fucking Diddy, Little Rod, Young Miami, and
their
their
cousin. Let me
cousin.
see it.
Like that's the actual cousin. I'll post them here, guys, so you can see. Like this is the actual footage. It says, once again, Mr. Jones pushed her off. The following images are from a video of Young Miami, her cousins, Mr. Jones and Mr. Combs on Thanksgiving Day, right before Mr. Combs invited. Like, so this is literally right before to invite him to force him to the restroom for the cocaine. Look, so that's actually him all leaning over to say that, and then Young Miami and her female cousin who are sexually oh god, she's gonna that's how they're. Well, she actually had a loose blouse on, so I mean, it wouldn't have taken her long to get her kit off. Dirty bitch.
And it's disturbing me the fact that he's obviously just finished a piss and she's grabbed his bits and started trying to suck him off.
Moving on to the next part of the lawsuit, we basically move on to the part that says Trafficking and Victims Protection Act, and this is what it's about. So basically, during this, there's screenshots of women that are underage, are sex workers, and it says, throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones, Little Rod. I'm just going to keep on saying that so everyone remembers who I'm talking about, because all the misters confuse me sometimes.
And Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs is quite similar. So Combs, Diddy, Jones, Lirod.
Yeah, I'll try my best to remember and say their actual names, but I'm trying to keep the facts to facts. Do you know what I mean? So Mr. Jones was transported from California to New York, Florida, and the United States Virgin Islands. During this time, Mr. Jones was forced to solicit sex workers and perform acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. So basically what that means is not every time was it people having sexual acts with Diddy. It was more so Diddy just watching people fucking do the sexual acts.
He would make them have
He
sex
would literally
for
like, I
his
want you
pleasure.
to he just loved seeing people have sex, which to be honest, I love watching people have sex too, but
it's not a pod in a game situation.
it's not a pod in a game. They usually just offer me to watch them have sex. On and about February 4th, 2023, Mr. Combs Diddy forced Little Rod to bring prostitutes and sex workers back to his home in Miami, Florida. So, see, when I say, I wonder what, like, obviously it says force. Obviously, it's not stated in detail what he means by force, but I wonder what that could mean when he says force. Like,
I'm assuming that he's saying you've go and find me girls, like hire the girls and come back here with them.
Basically.
Or X, Y, Z.
Yeah, but do you think you always had to say the XYZ, or do you think it just got to the point, like,
I don't
however
think-
long, and
no,
when
I
he was
think
just
it's
like,
more-
I'll just say it, and he's just doing what I'm saying
He
now?
knows what I'm saying because it's implied based on everything he's seen before, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's what that's saying anyway. I'd assume that that's what that's saying. He's wanting him to go and source the people for him,
Yep.
and hire him for him.
And then there's a screenshot that I'll pull up here that is basically it says the sex worker that Mr. Combs forced to bring back to his house, and basically that is the sex worker. Is that her? Is that a L'Oreal top she's wearing? No, Love Records. Sorry, no, that's his Love Records. So that the woman in the front of it, that's the sex worker, and then that's Diddy, with a Love Records top on. I'm
Is it
assuming
Diddy or is it Mr. Jones?
could be one of them. It's either
one of them.
One of them could be, and then it says on and about February 2nd, and there's another incident where Little Rod believes that Diddy drugged him and and basically Little Rod recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused, and he was in bed with two sex workers,
Oh, so drugged.
drugged up.
Spiked.
And then basically there's more screenshots. There's more screenshots basically of that I'll pull up here. You see them, and that is, I'm assuming, Little Rod actually taking pictures himself, like waking up with the two girls next to him on either side, being like, "What the fuck?" And it says, on another occasion in Miami, Florida, on Thanksgiving night, Mr. Combs Diddy asked Little Rod and DeForest Taylor to enter the studio bathroom. Do you know who that is, DeForest Taylor? I don't know who that is here. I'll pull up a picture of this person. I have no idea who they are. To enter the studio bathroom, he asked them for $100 bill because he wanted to do cocaine with them, and then Mr. Jones was scared, but luckily he didn't have $100 bill, so Mr. Combs waited a little later to do coke with Young Miami. Later that evening, he inquired Mr. Jones to solicit sex workers from Booby Trap on the River, which I'm assuming is a brothel, located whatever. Mr. Jones did so, and Diddy forced him to engage in unsolicited sex acts with these workers. And then, yeah, that's the basically
Oh,
pictures on. There's also screenshots
so that must
of
be
the
it as well, because
brothel.
obviously it's not as if Diddy can walk into these places and get the girls himself.
Yeah,
So when he's saying he's forced them to, it's like, right, okay, get down there and
go and find
get
the
it
best
going.
girls, basically. So there's pictures of the brothel.
I
That's
think
there.
though, as far as I know, I think the girls in this brothel knew what the sitch was with Diddy. Like, as in, like, they
Yeah.
knew who to look for, who'd
Yeah.
be coming in on behalf
Listen,
of
these girls,
him.
respect to the girls, they probably are literally just making their bag, doing whatever they do. This is nothing to do with the women. This is all to do with Diddy and how the fuck he's controlling people to actually have these women there in the first place. It's nothing to do with the women that are actively wanting to just make their bag and be there consensually fucking doing things that they consensually want to do, X, Y, and Z. And it says, as part of Mr. Jones's sex worker recruitment tools, Diddy provided Mr. Jones with an exclusive bad boy baseball cap, a bad boy baseball cap, and required him to wear it to Booby on the Trap River, as a signal to any sex worker that approached him that that Mr. Combs was in town and had sent Mr. Combs. So yeah, there was a whole thing. If he was wearing the cap, the sex workers knew Diddy was in town. They knew the bag was about to be secured. Was that the dog barking?
No, he was slapping his ears.
And then it basically says Mr. Jones had no desire to visit Booby on the Trap. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit sex workers from the brothel. Diddy used his power and influence to intimidate and force Little Rod into soliciting sex workers from the brothel. As detailed below, Mr. Combs used many tactics to maintain to maintain dominion and control of Mr. Jones. Apparently, these workers were accustomed to servicing Mr. Combs and would know that he is in town by the sight of the bad boy baseball caps. You just called that before we even read that part there.
I thought I'd just seen it somewhere before anyway.
That's
what.
You
Yeah,
thought
I
that
think I
happened?
seen someone I'd watched a video and someone else discussing this,
Aye.
but yeah, basically the cap's on, then the
They
job's
know.
on.
Yeah, basically they're like, right, get the fucking girls here. We're about to make the bag. The following are Instagram profiles of two of the sex workers that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and have sex with at his home in Miami, Florida. And there's literally two screenshots of the girls. Obviously their faces are covered, but it does say the girls. And then Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit and or have sex with the individuals in the previous paragraph. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting and sleeping with these women. The following is the number of another sex worker that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicitate, and it literally has a screenshot of the fucking brothels like saved on his phone, basically. In Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones had no desire to pay and have all this stuff, blah blah blah. It says the same shit. And it says Mr. Combs used many tactics to maintain dominion and control of Mr. Jones, aka Little Rod. He promised him a Grammy for Producer of the Year on the Love album. He offered him $250,000 to purchase all the instruments he wanted. He promised him ownership of his $20 million property, One Star Island in Miami, Florida. Oh my god, Star Island in Miami, Florida is also where Lisa Hochstein from Real Housewives of Miami, her and that guy stays, the surgeon. Well, her ex-husband, that Lenny Hochstein.
Wow.
That's the same
So
area.
he's promised him a house and everything.
Yeah, he promised. Well, this is what I think as well. Maybe this guy has probably been sticking about for the first couple of years and not thinking, right, this might pay off one day to. I think obviously this man may or may not have allegedly. This is just what I'm thinking. Could have potentially been kicking about for a lot longer than maybe he wanted to. Not received what he was going to receive. Obviously, this stuff's happened. Diddy's going downhill. You're not getting jack shit. Any of this stuff that he's promised, where you've been about for years still.
But I think surely to God though, those things were probably the bait in the first place, and
To
then
get him in.
everything he's seen after that kept him
Yeah.
there because he knew he was fucked at that point.
Well, yeah, true.
Because you're not going
Exactly.
to get someone in the door necessarily with threats. I think to get them to the door, he's had all them enticement points and all that, you know.
Exactly, and he says he promised access to record label executives like defendants Lucian Grange Charles, which is Universal Music CEO. Shit. He promised him the ownership of the big property in Star Island all that shit. Yeah, and then Lucy and Grange, the record deals, like try to basically say, get in with them, get in with the
Yeah.
executives, all these head people. Mr. Combs would often switch up his approach. He would go from promising Mr. Jones to the world to threatening Mr. Jones with physical harm. Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face and inform Mr. Jones that he is willing to kill his mother, Janice Combs, if he must, in order to get what he wants. Basically, Diddy would say he would kill his own mother to get what he wants, so he wouldn't think twice about harming Mr. Jones.
So the next part in the lawsuit is actually when Lil Rod talks about a time in July the 2nd, or sorry, on or around July 2nd, 2023, in California, Mr. Jones had a listening party at his home. Present at this party was R&B artist Redacted, J. Combs, sex workers, and underage girls. The event began at 7 p.m. Mr. Combs requested female sex workers and required that Mr. Jones, Lil Rod, solicited them. An hour later, several sex workers appeared. In addition to sex workers, there were at least 5 women in the crowd that were under the age of 16, which, to be honest with you,
That's so mental.
for some reason in my head, every time it said underage, I always just naturally thought 18, but when you say that sentence of there were at least 5 girls under the age of 16 in Diddy's home, like, that is just horrific. Mr. Combs forced all of the women to drink laced De Leon liquor. Don't even know if I'm saying that right.
De Leon is a champagne.
De Leon, did I say that right?
De Leon, yeah.
De Leon liquor. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy. Mr. Combs, aka Diddy, did not check the identification of any of these underage girls. In the presence of the underage woman made Mr. Jones / Little Rod really uncomfortable. He attempted to leave, but Diddy forced him to stay. Mr. Combs went as far as to take Mr. Jones's car keys to prevent him from leaving. After being forced to drink Lace De Leon shots, Mr. Jones began feeling lightheaded and recalls passing out and waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning with a naked sex worker sleeping next to him. So it's not even just the girls that are getting spiked, because he's attempted to leave. He's then been spiked with laced liquor as well. And screenshots of a video from that night is embedded below.
I just think as well, like, there's not really any. I think it's like the people who are getting drugged up is just MD that's not fucking listening to Diddy quite clearly, or MD that shouldn't be there in the first place. That's the rules. If you're going to get drugged up, you need to not listen to Diddy or be under the age, not be there.
And it's absolutely like we can include these screenshots because
Yeah, we can
they're
pull
all
these ones up too.
they're blood out. But it's basically Diddy clearly intimate and around someone who's apparently underage. There's more underage females there. They've all got their faces blacked out, and then it's Justin Combs as well there.
That's his son, so he's literally just having full orgies with his son. It's just fucking weird, man.
Yeah. At what point? When does that start with your son as well?
I don't know. Like, at what point
How old is his son?
His son's in his 20s, so at what point is it? Well, I'll double check that. I'll put it up here. I'm pretty sure his son is in his 20s. Regardless of what your son age is, right? What point in your guys' relationship, like, because this guy quite clearly fucks with underage people. Obviously, that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
So, were you doing this with your son when he was underage, like going to all this stuff? And also, you're quite clearly a bit gay as well.
Yeah.
So, what is happening with you and your son? Like, are you doing this shit? Is it the same rules? Because I'm not really seeing the same rules as normal boundaries that parents set. So, because I'm not saying that normal, even like parents with boundaries are a bit. But see, that, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's people that are fucking into underage fucking kids that probably would still not do it to their own kids. So is that the goal for Diddy, or is Diddy just like, oh fuck it, it's not even my kid too? It's like, do you know what I'm saying?
This is all B's own theory.
This is all my theory. Well, it's not really a theory. The guy's there having orgies with his son, so
I know,
he's around his son being aroused as well. So I'm just like, that is so messed up.
How can you even be aroused around your own kid?
Yes.
I see what you mean now.
So when has that happened? Like,
where's the line drawn?
When's the line drawn? Like, what young girls has he been growing up with his young friends and all that as your son? Because your son's got young friends because he's a young person. He's a child. He's grown up. You've seen him his whole life. So I'm like, oh so my god, this sends my brain spiraling.
Like, I don't even know. Like, is it your son that?
When does that start?
How does an adult know kids? Like, that's my first question. Like, where is it through Justin? I don't know. It's
easy to get a hold of quite clearly when you know everybody.
Yeah, but it's just worrying, man. It's like, even then, like his son, if they're having group sex together, I just don't see how that wouldn't be classed as still having sex with each other, really.
Yes, and it basically says Mr. Jones, Little Rod, believes that Diddy was grooming him to pass him off to his friends, and then this became a reality for him when Mr. Combs Diddy introduced um, Little Rod to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Diddy's yacht, and then basically that's when he's basically tried to get. And it says here, and this is another screenshot of the meeting happening, and it says during the introduction, Diddy said that Cuba get to know Mr. Jones better. He left them alone in a makeshift studio on the yacht. And then it says, as evidenced by a video of which screenshots are embedded below, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs, his groin, the small of his back near his buttocks and shoulders, which made Little Rod feel fucking pure uncomfortable, and proceeded to lean away from Mr. Gooding Jr. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. The following is a screenshot of the encounter, looking at such to him pushing him back, apparently, like when it was happening. So these are all the same videos because there was just constantly everything was being videoed. So even good or bad or good enough, everything was getting fucking videoed, and it's all coming back to bite him right in his arse. And then
I just don't understand as well. If you're videoing every single aspect of your life, how do you think that's not going to make it out at some point?
Exactly. And then it comes on to, there's another screenshot I'll pull up here, and it says Cuban Gooding Jr. forcibly touching Mr. Jones on Diddy's yacht. And then it goes on to talk about they were obviously with this makeshift studio on the shot, they were making the Love album as well. So it says throughout this time with Diddy, Mr. Jones was under an amplified work for hire agreement, so like just basically contracted to work for him. He was not compensated for his time living with Diddy or for the songs that he produced, so like was never fucking paid for shit. As evidence, he was listed as a producer for the following songs. Listed them all. Don't need to name the fucking songs. Fuck Diddy and his songs anyway. Mr. Combs and the defendants, which is all the other people listed, all benefited from Mr. Jones basically in this whole project, and he basically got fucking jack shit out of all of this stuff.
He did get paid, but severely underpaid for what
Yeah,
he
was
did
not
in
compensated
terms
for
of
the
full
level.
time.
Aye, and also for like basically
For being sexually harassed.
And not compensated for actually like working away from home. Like
he's worked away from, at the end of the day, he's worked away from home. He's worked all over the world.
Missed all family fucking holidays, all family events. And all that.
He's basically on 24/7 because if you're around the person who's your boss, then you're never really off realistically.
Aye. And he's also groping you.
Never mind the fact that he's been groomed and sexually abused by him, and he's had to be forced to be around stuff that one makes him uncomfortable, puts him in danger, like the shootings. And also be around stuff that's a crime that's sitting wrong with him, and he has to go through it.
No, literally. And it literally says here, Mr. Jones attempted to work with Diddy to secure his publishing and royalty rights for the work that he completed on the Love album, but Diddy only offered Mr. Jones 29... What the fuck? Sorry guys, I just had to read that close up to double check I wasn't tripping ass there. Mr. Jones offered him $29,000
for everything that he
did.
For
13 months of work, thousands of hours worth of work, 9 songs that were made to the Love album. Ironically, Mr. Jones was willing to take $50,000 for his publishing and royalties, and Mr. Combs' self-serving greed would not have him allowed, just said no to the extra $21,000. The guy should have been getting millions of dollars.
For everything he's done, never mind the fact of
so the guy was
crimes.
only asking for $50,000, was willing to take $50,000 and not $29,000. Bearing in mind half of that probably would have got taxed, would have got 25 anyway. So it's just like, what the fuck? And then literally there's a whole Mr. Gooding Jr. has a storied history of sexually assaulting and forcibly touching individuals against their will. So this guy's got a full reputation of doing this within the industry. And this writer has retained other creatives, artists and writers who have experienced the same treatment from Diddy and will file lawsuits in the coming weeks. So there's literally more people, basically there's a lot.
Who is that? What was that last part?
The last part says, the writer of this lawsuit has retained other creatives, artists and writers who have experienced the same treatment from Diddy and will file lawsuits in the coming weeks. That's what it says.
Oh wow.
So the people that have filed this lawsuit know that this is not the only lawsuit that's coming. They already know that basically they've been trying to get these other people on this lawsuit, and these people have been like, don't worry about it, bro. We've already got our own lawsuits coming because they're going to smoke this
they'll
guy's
get
ass
so
too.
much of their own evidence and stuff,
Yep.
most likely.
Diddy's deceptive business practices became so bad that Mr. Jones was left with no other choice than to make a public plea on social media for Diddy to pay him for his work. After publicly requesting that Mr. Combs do the right thing and pay him fairly, Mr. Jones received an onslaught of threatening messages from Stevie J on and Love Records and Love Records A&R.
So that's who that is.
So they're an artist and repertoire for Love Records.
Oh.
So guys, if you don't basically know, an A&R is the person who works for a record company that is basically like on the lookout for artists. That's what an A&R person is. That's their job role, basically. But this guy was not following no job role. He was
On Diddy's payroll.
He was just basically not an A&R, basically, because that's not what they're meant to do. And it says, according to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs is very forcible and demanding. Right, we get that. All the threats about trying to fucking he'll eat his face, does not take no for an answer, and would often threaten to inflict body harm. Fuck sake, by the way. And then there also is, obviously, there's been a whole thing about Diddy's former bodyguard, snitching, basically talking about all this other shit that he's seen to. And it says, on another occasion, while standing in Mr. Combs' bedroom, Mr. Jones was forced to watch Diddy display his guns and bragging about getting away with shooting people. Diddy shared that he was responsible for the shooting in the nightclub in New York City with rapper Shine, like SHYN, so he was responsible for that. He shared that the artist and Diddy's girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, carried the gun into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. And I'll post a screenshot here of the night when it's J-Lo and Diddy together walking in. And it says, the shooting in the Chalice record studio confirms Diddy's statements. These statements reinforced Mr. Jones's fear of Mr. Combs and threatened Mr. Combs' dominion and control over Mr. Jones. And then it says, Mr. Jones was terrified of Diddy and he felt like he could not tell him no. And Diddy constantly made it clear that he has immense power in the music industry and with law enforcement. So that's what we're saying about the police on payroll and all that. Mr. Combs made it clear that his head of security, Fahid Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. And this guy, Mr. Muhammad, basically, he's been lost. He's been spoke about quite a lot as well in the last few weeks for basically just being a known figure in Hollywood to make people gone. Because I'm pretty sure, now don't thing me on this Mr. Muhammad basically became head of security for many high people, and I don't know, I'll clear this up and we'll maybe clear this up in the next episode, but there was a case with basically the head of security for Michael Jackson, and I'm pretty sure it could be this Mr. Muhammad because that's really ringing a bell in my brain. We'll conclude in the next episode about this, but it was the same thing. This man who was like 21 years old had basically no experience in police force, none of this shit, was head of security for like crazy it was like Michael Jackson's and all that, and then was basically on the same site with people like Michael Jackson when the night he died, many different times and all that, like and basically been covered up with law enforcement many different times with this man's individual.
Speaking of Diddy's bodyguard, he also said that he was responsible for the murder of Tupac.
Yes,
that's Diddy's ex-bodyguard who said that. He
said that on an interview because he's been coming out as well doing loads of whistleblowing. And then it goes to move on to defendants from another one from all the other ones. Mr. Jones recalls seeing defendant Grange visiting, so that is the guy from the Universal, visiting Mr. Combs' home in Miami, Florida and Los Angeles. So basically, conclusion to this, guys, is I will leave the lawsuit below. There's obviously many different times that a lot of things in the lawsuit are getting repeated. But I just really wanted us to come on here today and talk about this
over the main parts
and really
fully.
Because we never got to. Well, I never knew much of this information when we spoke about it in the last few episodes, and I think with everything we've been talking about with Jennifer Lopez and all these people, it just really seems to be all be tying in with the same shit. We wanted to give you guys the gossip and give you guys the lowdown on what the fuck is happening, and we'll keep you updated on more lawsuits to what is happening. Do you have anything else you need to say, sister?
Nah, not really, to be honest. I think there's plenty more still to come from this.
This has been a serious gossip session. This has been a fucking cup of tea and a sandwich and listen up type of gossip session.
Sorry we weren't very much fun today, but sometimes you just got to take shit seriously.
Sometimes we've got to
because
take shit seriously. This
if
is a
this
serious
is happening
topic.
all around us, then you dread to think what's still to come.
Exactly. And obviously, we're not going to keep it every episode pure fucking serious, nanny, and all that. But anyway.
No, we'll be back to our usual I'm a celeb goss and all that good stuff.
And talking about my big titties. Woo!
But yeah, we've got plenty more coming this week. Jojo Siwa released her music video, so
We've
definitely
got too much
shit
more to talk about.
See you next step.
Bye-bye.
Bye, driver. Bye.
So I packed up my bags with a dream in my heart. A dream made for me with no clue where to start.